Hello and welcome, and today we'll be, continuing our look into the D4DJ cover track Volume 2, which, if you haven't seen the first part, what the fuck are you doing? Go see that, because that was pretty good.
And then quickly come back here.
Oh, yeah.
And continue on.
Although, this is where we really start getting some of the heavy bangers.
Yeah.
Although saying that, again, this is probably one of the few volumes where I say, from top to bottom is pretty solid.
Yes.
There's some that's kind of half good, half bad. Some that are okay, it's okay, but I wouldn't say I would listen to the whole thing in one go. And then others like this where I could probably listen to it start and finish and be like, you know what, one more time.
Yeah, why not? These next four are definitely ones I'm looking forward to. I guess, Photon for me is always seems to be a bit of a standout. But as usual, we've listened to the originals as well to familiarize or refamiliarize ourselves with some of them. And so we can make those direct comparisons. And as we're chatting prior to hitting record, all four of the following songs, the originals, they're
pretty good.
Yeah, they're all pretty good in their own right. So it's going to be interesting to see how they pull off the covers, but two, also, I guess, if they just meet the original vibe or if they're able to beat them.
I know what the answer is, but I guess I'm going to have to go.
Yeah, because, I'm pretty sure I've listened to some of these a long time ago, but it's going to be pretty fresh for me, whereas, you're much more up to date.
I think quite a few of these are quite heavy in my rotation, so, yeah.
Cool.
Which I think just goes to show. So I guess we should start off with Ready, Steady, Go.
Yeah. Originally sung by L'Arc and CL?
Yeah, L'Arc on CL.
Yeah, that's what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I know they're not French, but it's just every time I look at it, it's like you gotta go French, like L'Arc on CL.
That's what I thought as well. But yeah, they are definitely a Japanese rock band.
Although I'm so keen, I just want to talk about them before we get into them, but no, I'm going to have to hold off on it. Just place it for a second. It's like, pause. Yeah, now I can talk about it.
Yeah. So originally used as the second opening theme for the original Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when it means the original, it's talking about O3 as what the people that are in the know.
Yes.
Which a lot of people actually consider inferior to Brotherhood, even though I'm the other way around.
I haven't gone around to watching either of them, but as I've definitely heard, Brotherhood is the more popular one, I guess.
It's more faithful to the source material, but I kind of do like the brevity of O3. Although I need to go get back to watching both of them, and I'll probably have to tell you my thoughts after the fact, because it's been a while since I've seen both.
All right. Let's get into Ready, Steady, Go.
Don't
And you can see why I love this one.
Yeah, this is cool. It's maybe a little bit more of a slow burn compared to the original.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But once it gets there,
Oh, yeah, it gets going.
yeah, that's cool. It's always going to be a difficult challenge taking like a rock song and popifying it in this way.
Although, in my opinion, they did pull it off somewhat well.
Yeah, for sure. I think the slow burn to build it up, they did very well instead of trying to sort of like match the energy of the original from the get-go.
Like I just don't think you could really go strong out the gate and match them without it feeling a bit off.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that was a very, very smart decision. But also even here, like in the chorus, once it gets going, there's a lot of really nice changes in the rhythm from the drums that they're using. Really cool, just to sort of like mix it up and keep it different. But I think the one thing that they've definitely nailed is the very like upbeat, happy feeling from the original. So yeah, so far really good. It does feel a little bit off for me being... I kind of feel like Photon almost like balances the line between sort of like happy sounding and sad sounding. Like they're not quite either on one side or the other. They're sort of like teeter between the two where, hearing them doing a very upbeat, very happy sounding song is quite different. So that's putting me off a little bit so far, but I'm pretty interested to see.
Although now that I think about it, it would have been interesting to actually have Happy Arando cover this.
Yeah.
I think that would actually go this goes pretty hard, but I think that would go insanely hard.
I think so too, particularly because there has definitely been the use of electric guitars in Happy Arando songs as well. So that maybe would have been the more first choice sort of thing. But yeah, to have Photon do it is maybe a bit more interesting.
They could have been worse choices.
Definitely. That is true. That is true. All right. Let's
get back to it.
Ready, steady, give me good luck. Ready, steady, never look back. Let's get started, ready, steady, go. 数えきれないキス抱え込んでいてもちょっとやそっとじゃ魂までは奪わせないあの丘の向こうで君に出会えたなら何から話そうそんなことばかり思うよ夢中で早く駆け抜けてきたうるさいくらいに張り裂けそうな鼓動の高鳴り響いて呼んでいる君の声ここで立ち止まるような時間はないさレディーレディーゴー
And there we go. oh god, that end bit is just perfection.
Yeah, that was cool. I think they did pretty well for the second half of the song. Yeah, the little, I guess there's sort of two bridges of this song. There's like the one that goes a bit more harder and it's got a sort of like almost a jazz sort of feel to it. And then there's the one where it drops all the energy down to bring it back up for the final chorus. Man, there's some big vocal moments in this song as well that I think they pulled off really well. Like where, particularly sort of like later in the song and the final chorus there's that big moment where all the instruments cut out and it's just that one sort of vocal note that sustains over a bar or so. That was pretty cool.
I say that I don't think that would be easy to do, not without like a bit of warm up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, they're definitely belting it out there. I probably assume there's a little bit of auto-tune being used as well, or vocal tuning of some sort. But yeah, you still have to do a really good performance to make it sound that good, even with auto-tune. Also, it's maybe a little bit hard to hear, but in the mix, because there's quite a lot going on. But
oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, there's some,
it doesn't sound like there's a lot going on, but when you literally listen to it,
yeah. When you're sort of getting into the nitty gritty, yeah, there is some guitar in there, which is pretty cool. Like really sort of buried underneath the synthesizers, and sometimes it's kind of hard to tell if it is just like a distorted synthesizer or if it is a guitar. But there was definitely a big moment where, again, yeah, sort of like things cut out for a beat or two. You can kind of just hear the guitar in there, layering it up and adding some extra texture and stuff. Really cool.
oh yeah, like
Pretty good.
very solid,
Very solid. Yeah, very solid cover.
very solid. Well, fairly solid original. I think actually, in my opinion, I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'd say the cover is slightly better than the original.
Okay.
Although I'm not sure if you're going to agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess better in different ways. Like I think something that we mentioned when listening to the original was, you know, it is very encompassing of the time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like it sounds like it's from early 2000s, which it definitely is. So I think that kind of has a bit of a charm to it. Whereas, yeah, like this version that we get from Photon Maiden, I wouldn't maybe necessarily say it is indicative of, yeah, a time or place. And maybe that's, yeah, where it kind of loses out compared to the original, for me at least. Yeah.
Although for me, I think it's they're just able to, the energy they carry throughout the song wins it over for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, yeah, that's definitely a big positive for me for the cover is, yeah, the energy that is sustained throughout the entire song is very, very well done and respectful to the original.
Which I guess, with that all being said, I guess we move on to Hot Limit, which, oh boy. Like, again, I'm just glad I picked Volume 2 to cover, because, again, this is like the example of what I go to as a good like cover track volume.
Yeah. So this one I'm very interested in, because the original by TM Revolution is quite different, I would probably say, to Photon's general
Usual.
sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do with this.
Although with the title that it has, you'd think it'd be more of a Merm4id song, which
yeah.
I think it kind of sounded a bit like Merm4id's wheelhouse.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. The original is a bit more closer to Merm4id's sound for sure.
But was used later used as an end theme for the anime Real Life, which I need to get around to watching.
Yeah.
There's actually a bajillion things I need to get around to watching, but who doesn't?
Yes. Yeah, the ever-growing.
As well as in the commercial for what? Mitsuya?
Mitsuya? Yeah.
Cider?
Yeah.
Which I saw that and I was like, oh, so what? Just something similar to like a Summersby, which no.
No. Different term, I guess.
Which is weird because, yeah, what they mean by cider is completely different to what I think is cider.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, yeah, Japanese cider, it seemed to be just more like a soft drink, just a regular lemonade sort of thing. So that's interesting. But I guess, yeah, American cider is also different to Australian cider, because you've got cider and then you've got alcoholic cider.
Although I think, don't we borrow a lot from the English? So, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I guess we should get on with it. I gotta say, this wouldn't feel out of place in the club.
Oh no, yeah. It definitely would work quite well.
Although, especially like an instrumental version.
Yeah, I think so. It could definitely be very well used as like a transition between two other songs, I think.
Oh, yeah. Although, again, this thing goes insanely hard.
Yeah, it does pretty well so far. The only thing that I will say that's kind of annoying me a little bit is there's like the descending little synthesizer, it's so repetitive, and I know the headphones that I'm wearing can kind of excite high frequencies, and I think maybe that's what it's doing, but at some points it's kind of like overtaking the vocals, which sort of let me down a little bit. Other than that, it's doing really well.
I know we're both running AKGs, but I was wondering what model you're running anyway. I'm running a K240.
These are the K52. I think they're like just the cheapest ones. Like, they're okay.
Although mine is, well, a special edition.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I got the God, it took me a couple of years, but I finally got my hands on the K240 Mark II Peaky collab ones.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which kind of cost an arm and a leg. Well, compared to what I think the K240 Mark II that I have is now backup, which was what I used to use. Because I think I got them for like on sale for like what, 120, 90 bucks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't think I was paying like what, almost 200 for these and then shipping.
Yes.
Because I think I had to get them in from Japan, I believe.
Yeah, we looked pretty hard to see if we could find them in Australia, and none.
I think I even stopped at like Musos and see if they could do anything about it, but they're like, nah.
Yeah, it's the price you pay for the rule of cool.
Although I like it. Like, I thought I was going to get it and be like, oh, why did I waste all this money? But now I kind of like these.
Yeah, they're nice. Nice headphones.
They definitely look nicer than the standard 240s.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely do. So yeah, other than that, everything so far in this song is really cool. It's got a good vibe to it. And yeah, isn't as out of place, I think, for Photon Maiden that I thought it might be. I think they're doing a very good job taking, the 80s pop vibe that the original has and sort of doing the old Photon Maiden treatment to it. It's working out pretty well so far.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Although, with that out of the way, let's get back to it.
Yeah.
And there we go, which that's kind of one thing I had to kind of keep secret is that this thing does have a pretty strong back half.
Yeah. When it gets to that bridge section and there's a real fat bass synth that comes in that sort of drives everything home. That was awesome. I like that. I will say, I think they probably could have shaved off a little bit of time. I think it does drag on a little bit.
I didn't really feel that, but I guess I was too busy just feeling the vibes.
Yeah.
I guess it's the kind of song that it's like, if you get into it, yeah, you're going to enjoy it, but it's going to be a bit hard to get into the flow of it.
Yeah, I think if I wasn't sitting here and with the idea of talking about it critically, I probably could have just, listened to it and not really cared that it was 4.5 minutes.
Actually, on that note, how much time would you have wanted to shave it off?
Well, I think there's potential. Again, I think if this wasn't part of the album, if like this was an original song that was released as a single, I think you could have one version that was probably 3.5, maybe 3 minutes, 45 seconds sort of, and then have like the proper long, 6-minute club version. That's probably like in a ideal situation for releasing music. That's probably what I would have done. But I guess in this context, where they can only release the one version of the song, it makes sense to release it as that, as it's sort of, in that halfway point between, the radio edit and the club mix. That's my overall thoughts. Other than that, I think they did a really good job. And definitely, as I said before, wasn't out of place, or at least as much out of place as I thought it might have gone for Photon there.
Although I guess we should kind of figure out where they sit on the ranking, which I think for me, I'd have to put them at number 1. So that would be...
Okay.
Although there would be a very close Happy Arando gunning for their rear. I guess Peaky coming in at a decent third, which I would like to give Peaky a higher rating, but it's just cyber. Like, yes, the original's good, but I'm not a fan of the cover.
Yeah, so far for me, I think Happy Around's leading with Photon in second place, and Peaky taking up the rear at the moment. But I guess, with that could change. As
I was about to say, like,
over to
just because Gumble Rumble, Merm4id just gets an instant first. I'm not going to be like that, but expect me to be a bit biased with the second Merm4id song.
We'll see how we go. But I guess before we get to the second Merm4id cover,
we have Climax Jump.
The first one, originally performed by pop group AAA. It's
okay, well, hopefully they're not flat. They always go bloody flat. I had to do that.
And served as the first opening for
Kamen Rider Den-O,
the Tokusatsu series.
Yeah, I think we had a quick look into the plot. It is like, that's fucking wild.
It definitely looks like a very interesting series.
Oh, yeah.
From the short story synopsis we read.
Oh, yeah, it's like wild. It's like, what, a 26-part series or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. This one, I guess the original song also had some interesting changes.
Oh, yeah.
Made it...
Although it had a very strong Photon Maiden, not Photon, fucking Merm4id. My brain just had a bit of jet lag for a second.
So I'm interested to see what Merm4id do with all of the weird changes that's from the original, and see if they keep them in or skip over them or just do their own thing. But I guess we'll see.
時間の波を捕まえて今すぐに行こう約
Just right when it's about to get to the good bit. Although, holy fuck. Like, the original is good, but I think this does blow the original out of the water, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree that, you know, that it definitely keeps the weird, odd things of the original, but
Oh, yeah.
just, yeah, it turns it up to 11 and really takes it down the Mermaido path very, very well. Yeah, it's it's such a weird song, but somehow works quite well when it really gets into it.
Oh, yeah, and just, again, it goes so hard.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Although I think the cover itself would probably work pretty good as an OP.
Yeah, I think so too. That's an interesting thing. I don't know if this would work as well as an OP, but
I think if it's a fairly energetic OP, it would work.
yeah, I guess it depends on the show. I think the other one could probably work for maybe a larger range, where this one would have to be maybe a bit more specific.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess the rest of the song, there is still some weird changes that I'm looking out for. So I wonder what Mermaid will do with that.
It gets interesting, I can tell you that much. Yeah, let's continue.
けちゃん
And there we go. Oh, very strong out of the gate for Mermaido when it comes to covers.
Yeah, absolutely. Little bit disappointed that they didn't have, because like in the original, there's like that ripper solo that comes in later in the song. I guess, yeah, they sort of like did their own thing in the bridge section there, which is good. I guess that's kind of how they should go, really. But yeah, just I guess a different vibe. I guess another sort of layover or weird, one of the weird things in the original is that there is a guitar solo that kind of just like comes out of nowhere.
Although I think what they kind of subbed it with did pretty good job.
Yeah, I think it's more in Mermaido's wheelhouse to go that way in that bridge section. It makes much more sense than, yeah, to have a solo of any kind, whether it's, guitar or a synth solo. I think what they did worked better in the sense of Mermaido's sound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Although that reminds me, back when I was younger, I think I used to call them Merm4id, and now I don't even call them that anymore.
Yeah.
Although I guess Mermaid works a bit more than Merm4id.
I think they're both valid.
Although again, you can kind of sort of get Mermaid from that.
Yeah. The 4 subbing in for an A.
Although we got to move on to the second cover, Gumble Rumble, which by one of my favorite groups coming out of Japan, and that is Move.
And not only that, but also, being featured as the opening theme for Initial D, Third Stage.
Yeah, which it's weird because Third Stage kind of sits in a bit of a weird limbo, in my opinion. Like, it's pretty good, but at the same time, it does have parts that kind of, I think, should have been cut.
Ah, okay.
Because it just feels like a bit of drag, especially with certain story plots. But
Right.
I think that's just me. But I guess it's not as bad as like the live action adaptation, although I've come around on that, which I can just aptly describe it as Initial D while also trying to be Fast and Furious, considering it came out a bit after, I think, the first couple Fast and Furious films.
But yeah, it just has a weird vibe, the movie.
Well, it is trying to condense like the entire first stage down to a movie length.
Yeah, that is true as well. Pretty hard task to pull off in one.
Like, I think you would be hard pressed trying to compress a season of a TV show into a movie
Oh, yeah, for sure.
without it, with it trying to, make some sense.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I think they did a fairly all right job of that, even though they did kind of bastardize Bunta. But I kind of also like the Bunta in the film just because it just adds a certain bit of element to the film that is just
Right.
gives it some life.
Yeah. That's actually a fair criticism. All right. This is one that I'm very interested in because I think it could definitely be a tall challenge to pull this one off as a cover.
Oh yeah, although it's I guess anything by Move is basically Mermaid's wheelhouse.
Yeah. So
Although
I think,
I'm going to say this, like, I guess a bit of spoilers, but their cover of Blazing Beat is better.
Right.
Although their cover of this is still pretty good, but I think Blazing Beat just suits them a bit more.
yeah, that's fair.
Which have we covered already? I think we may have.
I'm not
It'd be
sure.
coming up pretty quick anyway
Well, let's continue on.
with Gumble Rumble.
Bring back hello, hello. Life goes on 満足してた少しの希望だけで待ってれば誰かが未来決めてくれていたなんて小さい自分なんだろうマジライフ無理だパブレーキ今すぐ夢まで走ろう Hey for rock and roll Gamble you got a chance to make a rumble ギリギリのステージ Gamble you got a time if you are stumble 1ミリも迷わず守るべきものなんて実はそんなにない少しだけ強がってかけましょう全部 play the game ジャンボ Hey ジャンボ Now shake your body Do the rumble すごくラインサンドテンション上がりパグダンボ登場も三人衆皆様のアミーチュー爆音でお前らうざいとか言われたって言えんと I like moving moving I make you moving to be 国産のエグいノイズかなギンギラギン欲望をさらスタートからゴールまでマークでワープしてマハイゴーゴー手抜き去っていこう to your next stage
Ooh, okay. I'd like to see what you think of this because I got quite a few thoughts.
Yeah, so what they did with the chorus, I think, has been definitely a standout moment so far across probably all four of these covers that we've covered today. Yeah, they really, really nailed that chorus. Everything else has been really good. I think the only thing is, the challenge of trying to match Matsu's rap.
Like as I said, I don't think Matsu could out Matsu.
Yeah, so that's really the only downfall of this.
And I think that's kind of like, again, the weakness with Cyber was, again, it was the Matsu heavy sections just kind of fall a bit flat. And it's those sections that make, well, not only his songs just absolutely amazing, but what makes Move's songs just, again, so good is just because it's that kind of, everything's kind of a build up to him. And then when he lets loose, it's just...
Yeah, and even like the little hype moments that he does throughout the original, you know, they're in the background, but you can always hear them. You know, they're always there. Whereas leading up to the sort of rap section here, you know, they still included those little background hype moments, but yeah, they're so far in the background, they don't really stand out like Matsu does from the original. It's it's disappointing, but I think also expected.
Oh yeah, like although my complaint was, again, the kind of the Matsu breakdown section there was that the performance was a bit flat, which again, if you like, I know it's probably not best to try and match him, but at least have some energy put into it. Because that's really kind of what that section is where you can kind of really kind of put your back into it, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although it does kind of work with the slower pace and feel of the cover, but at the same time, it's just, again, hard to kind of, again, well, not compare it to the original.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it almost feels like they made the conscious decision to not deliver it with energy. So there is like quite a large distance between the original and this one when it comes to the raps.
Although, I guess if I haven't covered Blazing Beat, this is going to probably be a bit of spoiler for that, is the energy in Blazing Beat is pretty close to the original, which is kind of why I prefer it over, well, this.
Yeah. I guess to, I don't know, extend an olive branch or at least like suggest how they could have maybe approached the raps better. It was, definitely like more energy for sure. But I think even because like Matsu's delivery is so aggressive that unless you also deliver aggressively, you know, you can use tricks like effects like distortion, could even like give you the perception that, you know, this is aggressive sounding.
Oh, yeah.
So, there could have been little tricks used to get closer without trying to be so much of a Matsu stand-in, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But
as I say, it sounds like we're kind of glazing Move a bit. I guess we kind of are.
A little bit. Yeah, they're just such a standout group that I think it's going to be tough for anyone to do a good enough cover. Yeah, it really is just that, though. Just everything else so far has been awesome. As I said, like the chorus was great, but yeah, just the rap sections have been pretty
There's a part of me that wants to kind of see like a Rondo cover of Nobody Reason. But that's because I absolutely love Nobody Reason.
Right.
And I think it could work. It'd take quite a bit of tweaking, as I think it would be hard to really get it to fit with any unit, although I think if I had to try and, well, pick one, it would have to be Rondo, just because getting their main vocalist to do some of the parts of it, that would be awesome. Although that reminds me, we've got to finish working on at least an instrumental track for a hypothetical Rondo cover of Rage Your Dream, which,
yes.
God, I would pay good money for them to, have a Rondo cover of Rage Your Dream, because Rage Your Dream. Why does it sound like I'm saying raid? I say this episode. No.
Rage.
If I was to get sponsors, I wouldn't even stoop that low to get sponsored by them. Although, Donuts, if you're hearing this.
All right.
I think, we should get back to it.
もう一回信じ分らしさを消 削って過ごしていた大将に手に入れたのは古臭いモラル臆病なこの群れから今走らムービーラッパーべき何も持たないで飛び出そう Hey boy rock and roll Gamble you got a chance to make a rumble 研ぎ澄まされてゆく Gamble you gotta dive into a scramble 直感を信じて本命の君の愛以外はいらなくて少しでも迷うほど捨てましょう It's gonna be so fine Break down Come on, hey, do some rumble Come on, hey, do some rumble 152ムラムラとビートが挑発する持つ MC スーパーエイジャー人類最速だ電車スペイキーズへようこそオーガンボルマウトモード全部吐き吸っちゃうかハーガンボランボーTo make a rumble ギリギリのステージ Gamble you gotta dive into a stumble 1ミリも迷わず一瞬の選択で全てをなくしても後悔は見せないで明るく負けて泣きましょうBring back till it's the right time Bring back till it's the right time Bring back till it's the right time Hey boy, rock and roll
And there we go. Just at the tail end there, it kind of clicked. What I was trying to think is that it kind of sounds like a remix of the original. It was giving me that vibe.
Ah, okay.
Although saying that, it definitely feels like the pace is a lot slower than in the original. But I think that kind of works to Merm4id's favor because I think if they had the kind of a similar pace to the original and kind of had the vocal performance that they did, I think it wouldn't have blended as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting point that, it feels more like a remix of the original than a cover. That's quite a different way of looking at it. Because, I would say the one thing that the cover does better than the original is the chorus.
But for me, it's not enough to really kind of, save it. Like, don't get me wrong. I still place it in a similar league to the original, but I would say the original is slightly superior. Well, actually, a bit superior.
Yeah. And the only other thing for me is definitely the English lyrics in the cover kind of stand out a bit more and are easily to understand, whereas compared to the original. But I'd agree. The original, it just has such a different. It's almost kind of similar to the Ready, Steady, Go, where it has that stylized feel that is very indicative of a time in history. So to try and bring you, I guess the thing sometimes they're able to do really well is bring these older songs into the future and give them a sort of an upgrade from their past. But sometimes some songs just don't need that. And
I think that I can make that argument for Gamble Rumble. It's weird because it doesn't really quite roll off the tongue naturally. So it's kind of not only that, but just having those two words just kind of almost is asking for a tongue twister.
It definitely is. So that was an interesting one, I think, at least.
Oh yeah, definitely. Although I guess in terms of ranking, this one's actually tough for me. If I had to place Mermaido, I think for the time being, I'm gonna need to go back for a bit, but for the time being, I'm gonna tie them with Peaky Peaky.
Okay, interesting.
Although I will say I probably am leaning towards probably Peaky edging them out. Although Backlit Wings is, well, a really strong cover. So is Climax Jump. So that like those two alone basically tie them. It's just which one do I prefer, Cyber or Gumble Rumble? Which, although I guess I'm giving a heavier weight to Backlit Wings, them Climax Jump, but them I'm also giving heavier weighting to Gumble Rumble, them Cyber. So just again, I'm not sure. It would either be a tie or just again like just barely one edging out, in my opinion. You?
Yeah, Happy Round's still leading for me. Peaky Peaky's still taking up the rear. As for where Mermaido fits in that, I think, yeah, they're probably a pretty strong tie between Photon for me at this point for second place. I don't know who's going to edge the other out. I'd probably say Mermaido, but yeah, even then now I'm thinking again, it's tough. Yeah, it's the what Photon and Mermaido have given us here is definitely a tough choice because yeah, they're both in their own right work really well, but have some misgivings, some shortcomings here and there. So yeah, I don't know, but definitely Happy Round still taking first place for me at this point in time.
Although I want to see what your predictions are for part 3. How well do you think Rondo and Lyrical Lily are going to do based off the track listing? If you had to make a educated guess.
Well, I haven't listened to the originals. I think I have heard Infinite Rebirth, or at least like the cover from Rondo, but I can't really think of it specifically. I do think Rondo's probably gonna place pretty high for me, and Lyrical Lily could be a bit of a wild card.
I would say you're kind of making a similar assessment to me, even though I kind of, know these songs pretty well.
Yeah.
I know I should stop spoiling. I know Wounded Innocence is definitely going to put them in contention for a potential top billing.
Okay.
I think the one that I am not super familiar with is Shiny Smiley Story, which I think is pretty good from memory, but it's not one I listen to often, which could probably hurt their chances because that means I probably didn't enjoy it that much or just couldn't get it to really flow with my heavy rotation. But I think Wounded Innocence is definitely one to watch out for. Although I know Tokyo Teddy Bear is really solid, I think Infinite Rebirth may clutch Rondo a first place. If I had to hazard a guess. Although I'm thinking if Shiny Smiley Story does fairly well, I think they could probably get a top 3 finish.
Okay.
That's my predictions.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess we'll find out in part 3.
Oh, yeah. Which will be coming probably next month because
Yeah.
there's like only 4 weeks in this month and we're going to have 2 of them off.
Yes. So yeah, sometime in May, part 3 will drop with our final conclusions and rankings. But until then, I guess let us know where these 4 songs from Photon Maiden and Mermaido place for you in your rankings and how you compare them to the originals. And I guess, yeah, if you enjoy this D4DJ related content, subscribe to the channel, leave us a like and a comment.
I think I'll be doing D4DJ stuff until the heat death of the universe. Yeah, expect me to do D4DJ videos in my grave.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess that does us for this one. Catch us
Next time.